Worm in the Mezcal bottle, fact or fiction? It definitely is a fact.
Derived from the Aztec words for cooked agave, mezcal is one of the newer liquor crazes taking over Texas. With Mexico being a mere 12 hours from Houston, it's no surprise that this liquor has made its way over to our city. With the recent opening of Bar Buena, a new mezcal-forward bar in River Oaks, the question that remains is this: what is mezcal, and why did it take so long for Texas to catch on?
All spirits from Mexico that are made from agave are called Mezcal. However, Mezcal now, as what we know it, has a lot of legal regulations around it, where it has to come from, what state, what agave varietal. So one of the questions, that a lot of people, as they start to really dive into agave spirits, and in particular tequila, they start asking, kind of what is this 4-digit code that we're seeing on a lot of bottles? And it's the NOM, it's the Norma Oficial Mexicana, that represents a distillery.
To be sold legally and obtain the NOM, it must be made in one of these 10 states in Mexico.
You see some landscaping here in Houston, chances are you don't want to pick that agave and make tequila or mezcal with it. One, you couldn't be able to call it tequila or mezcal because it's not from Mexico, it's not from one of those states. And then two, that plant is probably poisonous. So there's often a misconception about flavor profile of mezcal being this super smoky, savory, meaty, and gamey spirit, but it really comes down to production method. The species of agave, they all have different flavor profiles. Some can be super bright and super fruity. Some can have kind of more of those savory beef jerky notes. And then some can be as delicate and citrusy and bright as gin. So, you have a lot more, kind of traditional artisanal styles of production method, whether it's earthen ovens, where they're actually just, lighting up a bunch of wood and coals and letting it cook underground. And you're going to develop a lot of those earthy flavors doing that method. Versus if you were to cook it in like a brick oven, you're going to get a lot more caramel, sweeter notes, a lot less earthy. And if you use an autoclave, it's kind of like an Instapot. It's going to be very neutral, just going to be what the agave is going to taste like. And then you go into fermentation. Yeast plays a massive part in the final flavor profile of a spirit. And in mezcal, they're using a lot of wild and native yeast, especially if, their palenque is all outside. We like things that, taste more like the region where it's from and, the history of that spirit. The worm in the Mezcal bottle, fact or fiction? It definitely is a fact. Kind of really before labels were really a big thing. You'd have very rural Mezcal production and they'd really just make it for the town. But as they started to, start their distribution amongst towns of Mezcal, there's a common theory that you would stick the insect, whether it's a worm, a grasshopper, a scorpion in the bottle, and that was kind of like your label. So Mezcal has been produced for centuries. The reason why we're seeing more and more, especially in Texas and California, we share so much with the people of Mexico. We share so much culture, just being so close. They're our neighbor.